Hey there, it's me, John Stamos, in partnership with Cologuard. And a little birdie told me you're over 45. Listen, that's not old, it's really not. But it's an important age. If you're at average risk, that's when you start screening for colon cancer. And look, it's okay to be nervous, but it's not okay to ignore your own health. It's time to see if the Cologuard test can be an option for you to get screened. All right, I'm glad we had this little chat.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
There's been universal agreement that we need to do something to modernize and simplify the State Human Resources Act, to do a better job in telling, what it means to be a state employee, and to retain, recruit and retain the most qualified people.
For the News and Observer, I'm Dawn Vaughan, Capitol Bureau Chief and host of Under the Dome. I'm joined today by the State Human Resources Director, Staci Meyer. Meyer's a member of Governor Josh Stein's cabinet. She worked previously in the Attorney General's office, Department of Natural and Cultural Resources as an attorney, and in other leadership positions. She became the director of OSHR after Stein took office. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for your invitation.
Those of you who are listening, maybe lawmakers at the legislature, will remember Meyer from when she was in front of the House Oversight Committee, which they'd done earlier this year. The series of members of Stein's cabinet and other statewide leaders were asked them a lot of different things about how to solve problems, how to look at things. And I think your committee hearing was probably the most favorable of anyone, I think, that was brought in. So we're going to talk some about that. We're going to talk about the state vacancy rate, what state employees should know, how things stand with still no budget, what the state is doing for recruitment, retention, just a little bit of everything. So let's start with that. That House Oversight hearing that was earlier this year. Now, you're new to being director of OSHR, but definitely not new to state government. So how did you get where you are right now?
Well, I started in state government as a temporary employee about 10 administrations ago. So I've had a lot of experience. And I worked with, I first started with the court system and then attended law school and came back. Started with the Court of Appeals and then on to the Attorney General's office, and from there over to the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources and worked there for many years. And then that was under the Easley administration. And then I went over to the Industrial Commission to be a commissioner there and eventually chair there for a period of time. Then back to the Attorney General's office, and then back to Natural and Cultural Resources for the last 8 years under Governor Cooper.
Okay. So the Attorney General's office when Stein was Attorney General or when Cooper was Attorney General?
Yes. When Governor Cooper became governor. So it was during that period of time. So when Governor Cooper left the Attorney General's office, I went over to Natural and Cultural Resources. I left Justice to join his team.
So with OSHR, obviously you've been in different, state agencies. So did that kind of change your perspective on what the needs are when you hear from state employees, when you're expected to lead, everything that they have going on and whether or not they want to work for the state?
Yes. I mean, I feel like my experience is either representing every agency. I think there's only a couple of agencies that I didn't represent as legal counsel or work very closely with during my time at the AG's office, and that's because they didn't exist at the time. Mm-hmm. But again, I think having that experience in agencies and being a career state employee gives me particular insight to what state employees want and need and how the Human Resources Act works. Mm-hmm. It was written when I was 4 years old, so I could say that it probably needs some updating. Mm-hmm. And there have been some changes made, but now, in my comments to the legislature, I said now is the time we need to simplify it and modernize it.
So that actually brings us to, I'd mentioned that oversight hearing, and you talked about that the greatest challenge of the Office of State Human Resources is recruitment and retention, being able to provide competitive salaries compared to the private sector. And you told them it takes 182 days to fill a position, and that the private sector, the average hiring time is 44 days. So that's a huge difference. So what do you think that you talked about at the time? You said that the onboarding takes too long, and what you were just saying about, updating things, you need to be able to set up interviews quickly. And so how have things been going, these past, you've been in office, I guess, more than 6 months now, 7 months. So how hard is that to do? What kind of progress has been made?
Well, a lot of progress has been made, particularly with getting that bill passed. And when on the day that the governor signed it into law, in my remarks, I said it took us 1 day shorter, 1 day shy of 182 days to get this law going through the legislature and signed into law.
Can you explain that, what the bill does?
Yeah, the bill, it's a very interesting bill. And what it will do is it will make the State Human Resources Act easier, faster, and better. It's going to simplify it and modernize it. It reduces barriers to state employment. It makes applying for state jobs easier. Mm-hmm. We make state postings easier to understand and easier for employees to qualify. We had so many limitations that I think were impacting people who applied. It's looking at, degree requirements and where experience, and eliminating a college degree requirement when you have existing experience. That's going to make a difference for us. It allows agencies to create continuous postings without the need for outside approval. It gives more ability. It makes, delegation to agencies easier for them to do, faster, and it doesn't have to come back to OSHR for approval. Mm-hmm. So delegating some of that authority to agencies and making that permanent is a really big piece of that. So that agency flexibility in hiring and pay and classification, those are all critical pieces that agencies can rely on to fill jobs sooner than 182 days. Mm-hmm. So our goal, and I said this in the legislature, is to cut that time in half. And we're already seeing those numbers trending down. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited about some of the things that have already happened that make our ability to do this a lot easier and faster.
Just looking at, we're recording this on Monday, July 21st. I looked at the state hiring website on the day before, on Sunday. There were 837 jobs online. And you've mentioned, and I feel like everybody's mentioned for several months now, the vacancy rate is about 20% and worse for nurses, correction officers. And you said earlier this year, engineers, they have higher turnover rates. So is that, I guess, what's that? Is that 837, too many? What's the average where it's, like there are open positions that you're trying to fill, and then it coming to the point of, potentially a crisis if you don't fill them. And as you know, the House budget proposal just wanted to cut a lot of the vacant jobs. What's your position on that proposal?
Right. Well, we have about a 20% vacancy rate, and that is, it is starting to creep down. Like since COVID, those numbers went really high, and it has started to come down some, but 20%, we need to get back to our historical averages of about 12 to 13%. So I would like to see those numbers go down. One of the things that we're able to do now with the new law is that temporary employees under certain conditions can become permanent state employees when they're in a job, performing well, meet certain criteria. There's no need to go out and repost that position. Mm-hmm. So there is some availability.
Okay. We talked about hiring, and money is always a big factor. We need to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about how their budget is still being negotiated. We don't have a new budget yet for this year, and how salaries play into this as far as state employees. And we'll also have our picks for Headliner of the Week. We'll be right back.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts, it knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief, and it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI, it's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Rep your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
You're listening to Under the Dome. I'm Capitol Bureau Chief Dawn Vaughan, here with OSHR Director Staci Meyer, who is a member of Governor Josh Stein's cabinet, has worked in state government for a long time, and is now the State Human Resources Director. Before the break, we were talking about recruitment, retention of state employees, and money is always a factor in anyone where they want to work, of course, and benefits. Right now, there's no state budget. We're probably expecting at least the House, if not the House and Senate, to come back next week. And they might only do veto overrides. They might still be negotiating a budget. We'll find out once that happens. And what are your thoughts and what are you hearing from state agencies, state employees about kind of their hopes for what that final budget deal might look like when it comes to raises, to any other, changes in hiring, any of it? What's, I guess, is there a high stress level now for you?
Well, we certainly have seen this in the past, and we are operating under a continuing resolution, specifically with human resources practices. There are things that limit us in what we can do during the continuing resolution piece in terms of increasing salaries or bonuses or anything like that. So we're hopeful that they do come to agreement soon. I think it would be a real benefit to state agencies to be able to get their work done and move forward. And, in terms of salaries, we want to be competitive. We particularly want to be competitive with other states. I think it's really critically important. It's also critically important that state employees have those types of benefits that are meaningful to them. So we are looking at all of this in terms of how we work towards rewriting the State Human Resources Act and doing a better job in getting the message out there about the value of being a state employee. I mean, I'm proud to be a state employee. I've spent my whole career doing it. I don't know that our messaging to the outside world and even to our own state employees about what is available to them, I think we can do a different and better job. Like I went to a conference over the weekend and over this past week, went to a conference and, only 12% of states are out there are actively doing a campaign about being a state employee. So it was an interesting fact that I learned there. And I think those are things that we want to make sure that we are doing a really good job of, is the value of what it means to do services that are critical across North Carolina. I just was with the governor last week, not last week, it's actually on Thursday. And we were at an employee appreciation event in Western North Carolina. And it was so important to be there and for us to have time with state employees to thank them, especially in Western North Carolina during this recovery time, about those services that state employees provide. And it's every day. So we want to, lift them up. We want to celebrate them and make them, understand that we all know how important the work that state employees do is.
Do you think it's been harder for them with a lot of the rhetoric at the national level and criticism of federal employees and government employees? Do you see that, trickling down at all to the state level as far as morale? Or I know that, at one point, Governor Stein had said, if these federal workers are being pushed out of their jobs, then you come stay in government, but work for state government.
We did, and we created a website for that. It's called Join NC. You can find it on our website, and it talks about those who are displaced. And we've hired 9 people from the website. We have more to go. Thousands have looked at it, and we've been very pleased with those that interaction about people coming to the website and looking for employment. It's hard to say, but, it's never good to hear someone criticize public service. I think people are state employees because they have a public service heart, if you will. You can't, it's not just about the money. It is about the dedication that you have to do the work that makes North Carolina such a great state to live in.
Do you have thoughts on the raises? And the House and Senate generally, in recent years disagree with the House wants bigger raises than the Senate.
Well, it's something that is always a source of contention between the two. I don't know that they ever fully agree on that. But, we want state employees to be compensated fairly and equitably and consistently with other states. So I feel very strongly, and, the governor has supported raises for state employees, and particularly teachers. So it's really important that we compensate those who are doing the most important work.
I want to talk about locations of all the state agencies. So your office is on Fayetteville Street now, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so there's a little bit of shift going on. Are people paying attention to there's that live video of the education campus going up across from the legislative building? Is that something that people are, especially interested in? Because you don't usually, in the Bath building being demolished, you usually don't see a lot of changes in architecture, that's for sure.
Yeah, there are many changes in architecture going on, and state agencies are in different places. And as a result of that, my office is down on Fayetteville Street. So I'm a little separated from things. But again, I've spent a lot of time at the legislature and having meetings across government agencies. So one thing that's exciting is that we haven't had a Western North Carolina presence, and we are opening an office in Western North Carolina with dedicated Western North Carolina employees there. And I'll be spending some days in that office as well. So I'm excited about that because state employees reach across North Carolina. So I think it's particularly important for us to be everywhere and to the extent that we can. I've also been meeting with state agencies, met with all the council of state, every state agency head, and I'm going around to the universities because with a 20% vacancy rate, our universities and our community colleges and our high schools are a pipeline to jobs. So I think that that's critically important for students as they get out to know North Carolina public service is a career, and we want you to be part of that.
Why did you become a state employee?
I never thought about anything else after I went to law school. I'd already worked in public service. And again, I started at the clerk's office in Wake County. And after that stint in public service, I knew that public service was the career that I would choose. I just didn't see myself doing anything else.
Any last thoughts on what people should know, like lawmakers listening to this or state employees listening to this?
Yes, we had a successful effort. And I just want to say that, having the hearings, meeting with individuals at the legislature, everybody that we tell about our vacancy rates, about our pay classification issues, about, in 6 years, 25% of state employees can retire. So we have to plan for succession. But every time that I've talked with someone, is that no one says you're off base here, or I can't agree with that. There's been universal agreement that we need to do something to modernize and simplify the State Human Resources Act, to do a better job in telling, what it means to be a state employee, and to retain, recruit and retain the most qualified people to be state employees. And that retention piece is important. So I think the best messaging is from state employees themselves to tell us, what is the value in what you do. So it's an exciting role. I'm very, very grateful to be in it. The governor has been extremely supportive, and we want, to align with his vision to create opportunities for every North Carolinian to be successful.
Is there anything with lawmakers, since they haven't officially adjourned yet, and it'll probably just be, trying to take veto override votes and the budget, But if there is any other legislation, or there are things that you're hoping for this year, or already thinking kind of about the short session next year?
There are a few things that are budget related to, we're implementing a new program called Workday that'll happen early in October, and that will do something that we haven't done before. And one of the things it does is it allows us to be able to use resumes from LinkedIn, Indeed, and other sites. So you don't have to fill out that 12-page, 96-question application unless you're the successful candidate. I think that's critically important, but we need money to operate that system. So there's a little bit on the budget ask side. So I'm hopeful there's a budget. I'm going to be working towards that. And of course, always, the state employee salary increases are on the forefront of that. I've worked closely with the State Employees Association of North Carolina. They've been very supportive of this change, and I met with them on Friday to talk about changes that I think are forthcoming. So I'm excited about the work to come.
And now looking at our picks for Headliner of the Week. Yours is a good one, and it's HR related. So I'll have you go first. What's your Headliner of the Week?
Typically, HR things you don't find them in the headlines, but the Coldplay concert has certainly become an evolving story as it relates to human resources.
If people don't know, there's a Coldplay concert where they do that kiss cam and show people, and it was two top bosses at a company who are married to other people, but were there pretty clearly on some sort of date. And then one of them dropped behind, the other one turned around, and then Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, made a reference of maybe they're shy or having an affair. And it seems like that's kind of how it's playing out.
I haven't heard particularly HR folks talking about it, but I think from what I've heard, everyone seems to be talking about it. It's in every newspaper. It's in every, social media feed. So it's been an interesting story.
What are the state rules about, do you know off the top of your head about relationships among state employees?
There are vast, and it is agency. Every agency has a different rule, but yes, it is, we have ethics requirements in effect. So yes, that we talk about that often in conduct that is becoming a state employee. So there are rules around that.
All right, my pick for Headliner of the Week is the heat wave. We have weekend duty occasionally here. The NNO newsroom, and I was the weekend reporter. And just looking at what the heat index was, well over 100. It was 107 across central North Carolina on Saturday, and in the 90s. And so that's mine. It's definitely that time of year. Here is we're at the end of July. Well, I wanted to thank my guests, State Human Resources Director Staci Meyer for the News and Observer. I'm Dawn Vaughan, producer Laura Brache, and State Human Resources Director Staci Meyer. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
For more from our politics team, subscribe to the News and Observer at newsobserver.com/subscribe. Sign up for our political newsletter, also called Under the Dome, at newsobserver.com/newsletters. Thanks for listening.